This evening, several low-income homes will be built to house visitors to the inaugural Cricket Carnival. 4 years later, Eccles residents still to receive help on an encroaching neighbour. 2 sisters were remanded to prison for Vanessa Anderson's murder. In the region, Brazilian woman robs mother of $142 million using alleged psychic. And internationally, armed attackers free hundreds of inmates in DRC prison attack. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. I am Baby Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Construction for several 2-bedroom low-income homes at Great Diamond, East Bank, Demerara, which will be used to accommodate visitors of the inaugural Cricket Carnival, is moving apace. Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Susan Rodriguez, and head of the Ghana Police Force Special Branch, Errol Watts, inspected the site on Wednesday, August 10th, to discuss security measures for the area. Director of Projects at the Central Housing and Planning Authority, Omar Narain, Deputy Director of Projects, Intikab Inderjeet, and other senior technical staff were also present. Minister Rodriguez stated that the police were there to ensure that the sites were well secure so that visitors coming would feel safe when occupying one of these houses during that time. The low-income homes would be rented to visitors coming for the Cricket Carnival 2022. However, all proceeds gathered from renting the units will be used as down payments to assist in low-income earners who will subsequently be allocated the units. Additionally, the housing project fosters economic growth through the provision of employment opportunities for skilled and unskilled workers. Contracts for the homes were awarded to 25 contractors. Approximately 1,000 persons are currently employed under the project. The homes are at various stages of completion. However, all units are expected to be completed in time for the event. Cricket Carnival is slated for September 16th to October 2nd, 2022. It is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, and the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, and coincides with the Caribbean Premier League semi-finals, which will be held on September 27th and 28th, 2022. The finals will be held on September 30th, 2022. In 2018, we reported on a long-time resident of Eccles, East Bank, Demerara, who was upset with her neighbor and the expansion of his house, which had begun to encroach beyond the property line and into her house itself. Today, as the Sobers visited a resident who informed us that 4 years later, the situation has gotten worse. More in this report.
One Eccles East Bank Demerara resident, Vera Ram, is dissatisfied with the way her neighborhood democratic councils handles construction-related matters. Ram claims she has made multiple complaints over the years to the NDC about her neighbor, a well-known businessman and owner of the property that overlaps with her yard. Headline News reported this story in 2018, and today nothing has been done by the NDC. However, now Ram claims that the businessman has dismantled his previous property and is building an even bigger property that will further continue to breach the building codes.
Efforts that were made were all, in a sense, demolished. So what's happened is that doing that has given Mr. Khan the kind of free range to do whatever he wants to do. And so this has brought such a terrible pain and sorrow because my brother is handicapped. He's the one who is here all the time, and he has to listen to taunts and abuse, and he has to see this encroachment going up, and this happened in full daylight, and none of the land management systems are actually helping us to deal with this matter. I have to actually pay a $500,000 and more for me to be able to buy justice.
Concerns about the businessman allegedly being able to build a new home without giving the permission from the appropriate housing authorities are being expressed by Mrs. Ram and her family.
Based on our survey that was done previously, that the foundation goes 3 feet into our side all the way down, and this property is close to 150 feet in length. So he has come over approximately 3 feet onto our side, and So, and also, if he continues to build like he's building there, then it's going to go exactly under our eaves. And how in the name of God can you really have a structure like this with an existing NDC, with an existing CHMPA? And when we were investigating this matter earlier, I received the letter from the Central Board of Health because I wrote to them. And after they researched what was happening, they wrote back to me, and I have the document at hand, that he is in contravention of the bylaws and that there is no plan was submitted to the NDC. Yeah. And hence no plan to the CHMPA.
Ram expressed her concerns to the relevant authorities despite her fear that the businessman's influence may prevent her and her family from achieving justice.
The president talks a lot of us becoming a Dubai. How can we become a Dubai when we are presently in a Dumbai stage and we can't even enforce the simplest of things that could be enforced?
Ram is pleading for the relevant authority to look into this matter. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. The Ghana Police Force is continuing in its effort to remove illegal drugs from the streets. On Wednesday, August 10th, 2 men were arrested after being found with a quantity of narcotics at 3rd Phase Kupwani Region 10. Reports said at around 4 a.m., police ranks were responding to a report of noise nuisance at Lamp Island, Kupwani waterfront. While at the location, ranks observed motorcar HD 673 with 2 occupants driving away upon seeing the police. The ranks give chase as the driver of the motorcar drove into a nearby trench, causing the vehicle to come to a halt. As a result, a search was conducted on the vehicle, and 2 transparent parcels containing several compressed leaves, seeds, and stems suspected to be cannabis sativa were found in the trunk of the car. Both driver and passenger were told of the offense committed, but they claimed the parcel belonged to the other. They were transported to the Mackenzie police station, where the suspected narcotics were weighed in their possession and amounted to 25 pounds. The 2 remains in custody pending charges. Meanwhile, police in Regional Division 4A conducted a raid exercise at Stabrook, Georgetown, where a search was conducted on a white Axio motor car, and a 38-year-old male of South Comminsburg Lodge, East Coast Demerara, and a 29-year-old male of Joseph Polydor Street Lodge were arrested for attempted murder. Also at Border Street, Georgetown, a body search conducted on a 29-year-old male unearthed a cigarette pack. The pack contained a quantity of whitish, rock-like substance suspected to be cocaine. He was escorted to the Alberton police station, where the suspected narcotics were weighed in his presence and amounted to 3.9 grams. He was placed into custody pending charges. Stick around after the break. Recently passed Mental Health Protection and Promotion Bill are expected to increase access to mental health services in all regions of Guyana. And 2 sisters were remanded to prison for Vanessa Anderson's murder.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for doing surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton, and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. The Mental Health Protection and Promotion Bill was passed in the National Assembly on Monday, August 8, 2022. The bill will make mental health services more accessible to persons in all regions of Guyana. Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, says enshrined in the law is a series of rights for mental health patients, including access to care and treatment.
One of the things that the ministry would be doing and have started to do is to make sure that mental health care is incorporated into our primary health care system. By doing that, more people in remote locations and so forth would now have access to mental health care.
Dr. Anthony added that treatment and care would be provided closer to home, with institutionalization a consideration only when necessary. Even in such cases, the minister said there would be continuous assessment of patients to have them released once their conditions have improved.
In the interior, we don't necessarily have psychiatrists going in there on a regular basis, but with the new system that we are working on to set up telemedicine, if a doctor or a healthcare worker felt that there's someone with mental health illness and they need consultation, then through telemedicine, we will be able to offer psychiatrist consultation using the telemedicine platform.
Dr. Anthony said the most recent statistics show that 15 to 20% of Guyanese population have some form of mental health illness, be it mild, severe, or acute. There are another 150 different conditions that can be classified as mental health illnesses. In light of this, there has been an increase in the number of psychiatrists in the nation, and plans have been made to train additional physicians who want to specialize in this area. Previously, there were about 2 psychiatrists, however, now there are 14. There will also increase education activities on mental health to avoid discrimination against those affected.
So there are different segments of the population that we need to do more work with. And I think once we are able to do that, we'll see a turnaround, we'll see a change in people's attitude. This is not new work. There were lots of stigma that was attached to HIV, and we have been relentless in working with the public on some of these things, and we have seen a change in attitude. Similarly, I believe that if we have this concerted effort in trying to educate our public pertaining to mental health illness, we'll see that kind of an active change.
The 2 sisters accused of Vanessa Anderson's murder in Beefield, Sophia, appeared in court today. Esther Sobers has more details.
2 sisters, 20-year-old pump attendant Jamacy Jason and 29-year-old Tiffany Greaves, a security guard, both of Beefield Sophia Dam, appeared at the Sperndam Magistrate Court today to answer the charge of murder committed against 22-year-old Vanessa Anderson. The 2 women appeared before Her Worship Rochelle Liverpool, where the charge of murder was read to them. The 2 sisters were not allowed to plead the indictable charge and were remanded to prison. The matter was transferred to the Court 2 at Sperndam Magistrate Court. The court heard that on Monday, August 8, around 6:30 p.m. at Bayfield Dam, Sophia, 22-year-old Vanessa Anderson was fatally stabbed. Anderson and the two women who were neighbors had ongoing problems, with the woman often accusing the now dead woman of calling the police to search their house. Anderson was in front of her yard when she was approached by the two suspects. An argument ensued. During the argument, Jason collected a knife from Greaves and dealt Anderson 2 stabs, one to the upper left back and the other to the left shoulder. The woman stumbled into her yard and collapsed. She was picked up and taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where she was pronounced dead on arrival. A post-mortem examination revealed that Anderson died from a stab wound to the back. Jamacy, Jason, and Tiffany Greaves will return to court on September 28, 2022. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Don't go way off to the break. Armed attackers free hundreds of inmates in DRC prison attack. And South Korea cleanup and recovery underway in flood-hit Seoul.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Here now is Esther Sobers with today's regional and international news.
Good evening. Now we take a look at news in the region. The widows of one of Brazil's most celebrated art collectors has been defrauded of nearly $142 million. The alleged perpetrator of the crime is her own daughter, among others. Al Jazeera's Zain Basravi has the details.
Police in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro arrested 4 people on Wednesday as part of a case involving a widow, her daughter, a psychic, and paintings, jewelry, and cash worth tens of millions of dollars. A case of fraud and elder abuse involving 16 priceless works of art belonging to 82-year-old Genevieve Bogishi, the wife of the late art collector Jean Bogishi.
The daughter of the victim and her accomplice began to take the artwork from the mother's house, claiming that the painting was cursed with something negative, with negative energy that needed to be prayed over, knowing that this was not true.
Sabine Kolba-Jishi was arrested on accusations of being the alleged mastermind of a years-long scheme to defraud her mother. Using so-called psychics, she swindled some of Brazil's most famous artwork.
Concluímos nesse exame preliminar.
We concluded in the preliminary check that all the characteristics of the seized paintings are compatible with the authentic paintings.
Police say Sabine and 6 other suspects physically threatened Genevieve and forcibly kept her at home for months. The victim went to the police after almost a year of abuse. 4 other people were also arrested. 2 suspects are still at large. All face charges of embezzlement, robbery, extortion, false imprisonment, and criminal association. Zain Basravi, Al Jazeera.
And internationally, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, at least 800 inmates have escaped during an attack on a jail. At least 2 police officers were killed in the prison break. Al Jazeera lead Harding reports.
Early on Wednesday morning, prisoners in this jail were startled by the sound of heavy gunfire and snapping metal.
Bullets rung out whilst we were fast asleep. Suddenly we woke up. The assailants had a chainsaw with which they tore off the padlocks.
Members of an armed Ugandan group known as Allied Democratic Forces, or ADF, fighting their way into this prison to free hundreds of inmates.
Inside we were about 900 detainees, but about 30 of us remain.
ADF has pledged allegiance to ISIL and has been blamed for thousands of deaths in eastern Congo and neighboring Uganda. Many of their members have been arrested, kept in this jail.
They came from their main headquarters in the forest to conduct the attack, with the objective of recruiting by force new members, and to release some of their own people arrested in this jail.
But not everyone wanted to be freed, unwilling to live a life on the run.
I did not flee because I did not want to take advantage and flee in disorder. I'm waiting for the liberation that God will send me. My hope is that one day I will leave here legally with all my documents.
The army have started their search for the escapees, combing through a vast, mountainous country in a region that has seen decades of fighting. Leah Harding, Al Jazeera.
And finally, South Korea's capital, Seoul, will start phasing out basement apartments after 3 people died in the flood during flooding this week. Al Jazeera Rob McBride reports.
After the rains, the cleanup and a rethink on how to adapt to a changing climate. The worst affected places were in low-lying areas south of Seoul's Han River. It's home to the glitzy Gangnam district, made famous in the hit Gangnam Style. But it's also the location for poorer housing, including half-basement apartments prone to flooding. Resident Ha In-sik tries to salvage what he can from his home. When the rains came, he and his family were forced to evacuate, seeking shelter in a nearby park.
I have to throw away all my possessions, even my dishes. It rained so much this time, it was a disaster.
The plight of such residents was highlighted in the Oscar-winning movie Parasite, about a fictional family living a subterranean existence. But it's the reality for many in a city with sky-high property prices.
It's different from the wealthy places. We live in the smaller streets where the government doesn't pay attention to us.
South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol visited one basement apartment that was flooded and where 3 people died. The response from Seoul City has been swift, with the government announcing no new permissions will be given to turn basements into apartments. But there are reckoned to be around 200,000 homes below ground right now that authorities say will gradually be phased out. The government has also announced plans for better drainage, adapting, it says, to the new reality that such extreme weather is now no longer abnormal. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Seoul.
Thanks, Esther. That is all for today's regional and international news. Here now to your 3-day weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. Tune in on Friday at 5:30 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.